the TV show Major Dad, and I played a young Russian kid with a heavy Russian accent.
Cool.
And it was really fun, and it was just really cool. I mean, I love things where you really get to stretch and play and just dig into the fun of what you're doing, and that was one of my favorite. Not one of my more well-known roles, but it was pretty cool.
It sounds like fun. You've also done some producing, I believe some co-producing with Bryan Singer.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Could you tell us a little about this movie that you made, Burn?
Yeah, that was really the beginning of things. My career path. I came to Hollywood. I worked as an actor here and there, but didn't really do the things I wanted to do. I wasn't doing major features or anything like that. I was doing these little things here and there. And by 28, I started to get fairly frustrated with my career, and a friend of mine, the same friend that introduced me to Bryan Singer,
mm-hmm.
An actor named Randall Slavin, came to me and said, I want to produce this movie. And so we decided to produce this little movie, Burn, in much the same way that Bryan had with Public Access. And we produced it and starred in it. And it was a script that Bryan Singer had wanted to do at one point and ended up doing Public Access instead.
Huh.
And so I called him and, out of courtesy, just sort of said, is it okay if we do this script, because we want to make it into a movie? And he was intrigued, and he signed on and said that he wanted to executive produce it. And, of course, we were thrilled, and he really guided us through that process. And in the end, we had a movie, and it was pretty cool. And that's I think that experience with Bryan really led towards what happened on X-Men.
Well, I'm sure he got to know you better, in a responsible capacity.
Well, and in a filmmaking capacity, we would sit in the editing room and discuss our ideas, and I think he started to get a sense that I had some things to say, and of course that was really cool for me, because until somebody who's made it recognizes that in you, all you have is your own faith that you know what you're talking about.
Right.
It's nice to have that confirmed.
Well, Burn was not just a little project. It actually won notice at the, what was it, the Fireside Slam Dance Festival.
Just Slam Dance.
It's called Slam Dance?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great.
We won a special jury honor award there, and which was awesome. And we got a lot of great reviews, and had a great review in Variety, which was really thrilling. And that was really the first kind of taste of something real.
Well, good luck in finding a distributor for Burn. I think
Thanks.
it sounds very interesting. I learned about the story from a friend of yours. So.
Oh yes. Thank you.
I want you to talk to me. You have done some voiceover work,
Yep.
and I want you to talk to me in your voice of Captain America from the Spider-Man film.
Well, no, it was this was on the Spider-Man cartoon. I played Captain America, which is ironic because I'm from Canada. In a series of episodes, I kept coming back, and I think I had one line. That was my favorite. I don't want to blow up the speaker, but he said, "All right, team, let's win one for democracy." And it was, that sort of big booming voice.
I love that. It's perfect.
It's pretty cool.
Now, you also did, and I think you're going to be continuing to play a character in a very popular game called Metal Solid Gear, and you are Solid Snake.
Yes.
And I'm dying to hear that voice. I can't imagine.
Well, I'll try.
Okay.
Solid Snake is a little tougher to get into.
Okay.
Colonel, we're going after Metal Gear. It's that kind of, it's kind of an amalgamation of Clint Eastwood and Kurt Russell and just all the tough guys rolled into one.
That sounds like a Solid Snake kind of voice.
Yeah, well, he really doesn't take any prisoners, so. Yeah, it's a cool game, and we're doing the sequel to it now, and it's really amazing. So
You did the sequel already?
I've done half of the recording, and I do the other half next month, and then it comes out for Christmas. So.
Well, I was reading on the internet that they were very happy to get you back for 2, Metal Solid Gear 2. So that's cool.
Yeah, that again is, though it's a video game and everything, it was hugely well received, and that's one of my favorite characters too, because he's just really cool and tough.
We've got only about 4.5 minutes left, and I wanted to ask you, how did you get this way, David? What were you like as a kid and a teenager? How did you get this way? How did you start out?
I traveled a lot as a kid, and my mother did community theater and so on and so forth, and I sort of got involved from there, and that's when I first, got up on stage and said, "Oh, this is a great thing." And I wasn't a particularly good student. I wasn't very focused, and so I kind of turned my back on the establishment way of things and went towards the creative side. I just decided what I loved, and went after it. And what I loved was movies and that world. So, so that's how I became this way, I guess.
And also, you read comic books, right? You read X-Men when you were a kid.
Yeah, and that's really what I think gave Brian the confidence in handing over the writing to me. Is I knew the characters and I knew the whole world, and from the time I was 12, I was a huge X-Men fan, and because I moved around so much, I sort of went from town to town. I didn't have a lot of close friends, and it was really, I just lived in that world, and now to live in that world again and sort of dictate what happens is amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I know a lot of people would like to be in your shoes, that's for sure.
Well, I just bought them. I think they're
lovely.
Fairly attractive. Yeah, they're nice suede.
Now, you lived in Japan for 4 years when you were in high school, right? How did that impact you at all?
Oh, yeah, hugely. Again, I think, if we're talking career date, I think this is an important point. I was going to high school in Canada, and I was a terrible student, and was convinced that I wasn't very bright. And then I went to Japan, and the school there was so much better and so much more creatively engaging, and just the level of education was better, and I found that I wasn't a bad student when I was interested in what was happening. And in the course of a year, I learned to speak French, I learned to speak Japanese, I learned just an incredible amount, and found out a whole bunch about myself that I might not have known otherwise, and so I wanted to say, because I think it's one of the defining lessons of my life, that even if school isn't treating you well, or you're not particularly good at it, it doesn't mean that you're not intelligent or have capacities beyond that.
Did you do any study of the theater or participate in any productions while you were in Japan? Yeah,
well, from the time I was 9 years old, I fell in love with acting and that world, and so in Japan I studied acting, and I kind of started an evening of short plays at my school, and we did all kinds of stuff like that in Japan, but in the city itself it was a little difficult because nobody spoke English and they didn't have any idea what we were talking about, so tougher to get an audience that way.
You attended Ryerson in Canada, in Toronto. Did you learn anything there?
I learned that I didn't really get along with a lot of the teachers. Again, I learned some about acting, but I really that was one of the experiences that spurred me to go on my own.
David Hayter, I want to thank you for sharing your story on how you came to be a successful screenwriter.
Well, thank you.
I'm looking forward to following your very exciting career. David Hayter is the screenwriter for the blockbuster movie X-Men, and he's currently working on a number of other projects. I'm Jill Sanborn, and I'll be back next week to interview a sports physical therapist. It's another cool story, and I hope you join me on Cool People, Cool Careers.